All right. All right. We're at 5 minutes past. So as always, we're going to go ahead and get started. So with that being said, I am going to do our intro as always. So, everyone, welcome to Salesforce Security Office Hours. So, Salesforce Security Office Hours was created in response to a troubling reality that data breaches in the ecosystem are increasing, not declining. And I will be talking about that later today in our hot off the presses, but brand new data breaches just came out just recently, just the last few hours. Anyway, but too many organizations are losing their data to attacks that could be prevented. And that's why we're doing these sessions, is so that we can change that and we can educate everyone about that. And so each session, we're looking at real world breaches and sharing Salesforce specific best practices presented by experts such as Srini and others, providing you with the actionable steps that you can take to strengthen your data security and reduce the risk of a breach in your own Salesforce environment. So, rules of engagement, as always, I like to go through these. So, be respectful to others. It's open engagement. We encourage you to ask questions, encourage you to raise your hand. That's why everyone is allowed to talk. If you have a question, feel free to speak up as long as you're not interrupting the speaker. Feel free to ask questions, raise your hands. And the most importantly, take notes and walk away with actual items that you can implement today to help in increasing the security in your Salesforce. About me, I'm Matt Myers. I'm the CEO and founder of EzProtect and a certified technical architect. I have 18 plus years experience in the Salesforce ecosystem, and I'm also the author of the best-selling book, Securing Salesforce Digital Experiences, a true story about a customer mind that got hacked in a misconfigured Salesforce experience environment. And I basically wrote that so people know what you can do to avoid that kind of thing. So anyway, Srinivas, do you want to introduce yourself and then
Sure, Matt. Thank you. I'm Srinivas Sandiri. I work in financial institution. I have been in IT industry for more than 20 years, delivering scalable solutions. My Salesforce journey started back in Force.com era. With over 16 plus years, I have got a chance to work on multiple clouds in Salesforce ecosystem. So as systems grew and more interconnected, I thought I am clear like a Salesforce architecture and security is not separable. So it should go hand in hand. So I am also Salesforce certified application and system architect, and I am a contributor to Salesforce Ben. I write on zero trust security patterns, and that's about uh, me. Thanks,
yeah,
Matt.
awesome. Thank you, Srinivas. We'll be getting started in just a minute. We always like to show the slide here that Office Hours was started by and supported by me and EasyProtect. And basically, what we do is Salesforce doesn't scan for files or and viruses. It doesn't scan for viruses uploaded in files or malicious links and URLs. So if you're concerned about malicious files coming in your Salesforce or malicious URLs, then feel free to click the QR code or give us a call. All right. So with that being said, I'll pass the mic over back to you, Srinivas, and just let me know when you want to change your slides. Oh wait, I'm sorry. Actually, I'm sorry. I got ahead of myself a little bit. So
Okay.
to recap, sorry about that. It's been a couple weeks. So just recapping from the last time we were talking about which OAuth flows are actually secure, going through the different types of OAuth flows for Salesforce integrations. If you want to learn more about different OAuth flows and what you should be using, what you shouldn't, then there's a QR code to kind of do that. And as I was talking about a little bit earlier, alluding to hot off the press, we just had a new data breach that kind of hit. If you look at a Salesforce Trust site, we have a Gainsight application. Their connected app had some suspicious activity. So Salesforce went ahead and, from what I've read so far, and disabled all of the tokens or the OAuth tokens or the connections to those to the Gainsight application. And so I know that Reddit users are talking about it as well, talking about social engineering, but really we don't really know too much about it right now, short of the fact that, or I think it's still developing. But we this is seems to me a little bit more like the sales loft drift, similar to that. But we won't know until we get a little more information about it. But if you want to know a little bit more about that, there's a QR code to learn some more. And our fun slide we always like to show, Gainsight is the newest logo on there. Every week it seems like we're getting more and more logos on this, which is an absolute shame. So if we can do anything, that's why this exists, so that we can hopefully see this, not these logos increasing, but it seems like every week we see, or every 2 weeks we see a new one on here. So all right. So new metric, 97% of organizations that experience AI related security breaches lack the proper AI access controls. And fun fact, I actually just did a Dreamforce Roadshow show presentation about how you can secure your Salesforce COEs, or what you can do in a COE for deploying agentic deployments. And so if you look on YouTube, I'm sure that'll be up there soon, but that's an interesting one. Anyway, so now ready, pass it off to Srinivas. Uh, you have the mic.
Thank you, Matt. So, can I share or you would like to run this? Sorry, you are on mute, I think, Matt.
Sorry about that. No, I can run the slides. Just let me know when you want to change the slides. I'm happy to
Okay,
uh,
then, yeah,
drive
no.
for you.
Okay, sure. Yeah, thank you. So, zero trust is a lot. We hear a lot about the zero trust. So before getting into deep into the content, a quick note. So I am here today in a personal capacity, not representing any employer. Everything I share is based purely on platform capabilities and industry best practices. So with that, I let's jump into this gap. So one of the biggest challenges I see across Salesforce implementations is that many teams believe they are already doing zero trust. So, implementing single sign-on and multi-factor authentication from outside, it looks good, but coming to the inside, it's not. So, Salesforce is implementation is different. So, it is not like a traditional network where you have the firewalls and those things. You have to protect from inside. So a very common pattern I have observed is suppose years ago you implemented a profile by cloning, and over time there are permissions and additional things added, and you got some urgent request and added those to meet that requirements, and on top of that added OAuth setup with a broader scope. These look very simple and not risky when you do individually, but when you think collectively, these are going to become a very big risk. So at the same time, when AI comes, it will inherit the same challenge, and it will get all the access what you have provided in before. As AI runs more speed, it can bring more damage to the system. So let's go to the next slide. So why trust matters now? So because if AI agents are running on a hyper efficient like a digital workers with who can read and summarize the data in a exponential speed, the more damage happens. So for that reason, let's take for an example. So you are using AI assistant to create a case summary. So what does it do? It it has access to the lot of things inside the system, and it can access your sensitive data. It can access the internal comments or any escalation comments. So with that, it can produce a is a case summary which is unintended. It's not like that AI is misbehaving here. AI is getting more access, so it is gaining access to your internal data. So that's the reason in the AI era, it's very important to control the access internally, not only just from the externally. This is where zero trust becomes more important. The important thing is to keep AI very minimal context and least privilege access, those things. It's it's not about how to make AI secure. Think like is our AI Salesforce environment is secure enough to handle this AI? So it's not just about VPNs and those. I have always have the proper guardrails and least privilege accesses. So AI is not bringing any new risk to your architecture. So it just amplifies whatever architecture you already have, and if it is having a broader scope, it will try to take all those things and run on those. So to get these working clearly, so what we can do is we can follow a trust cycle. So Matt, let's go to the next one.
Sure. One question I actually have for you, since I was just talking about this on a
Uh-huh.
session I just did. Uh, so, so you're saying that AI, it's not really any more insecure in your architecture, and it's just your architecture is what it is, and it's just that it's just amplifying some of the gaps you might have in your current architecture. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yes. So the more thing the more AI does is that it increases the efficiency and improve the speedness, those things. But if your architecture is not considering security, AI has more access. So that way it amplifies whatever your architecture is already exposing the data from the
Mm,
security
yes.
perspective.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. So, okay, so I was getting what you're saying a little bit backwards, but yeah, I completely agree. It's amplifying and
Mm.
making it even easier to expose some of the
Ah,
gaps you might have in your existing architecture. Like, for example, if you already are not using least privilege in your profiles and permission sets, you
yeah.
probably won't be as cautious with AI as well, and probably less so with a lot of
Mm.
people where you should be using treating your AI just like they're a normal user, right? And then you thinking about like the prompts even, and that I think that's also amplifying like your architecture and your maturity on how you're doing your testing from like a COE. So if you're not doing accurate security testing in your existing implementation, once you do putting AI into the picture, there's a whole nother level of testing you should be doing for that. And so if you're already not mature in your general testing, your AI testing is probably not going to be there as well, right?
Yes, it's absolutely true. Because uh, everyone are believing that, okay, I am secure from outside, and okay, my internal data is good. So that's where AI is having AI runs through an identity, right? So when AI has a specific identity, that identity is already having a lot of access internally. So we are not having any control in the AI. Even the prompts, when you write a prompt asking some information, but user can always play with the prompt, like instead of come in the negative way, like do like a prompt injection kind of a stuff. That
Yep.
response AI can take in and expose all the sensitive data to the users.
Yeah, I think, I mean, the prompts are really interesting too. And if even if you
Yeah.
don't mean for the to have a hole in your prompt, if you're not testing it
Mhm.
the correct way, then something could happen. So like I saw a session by Daniel, I think it was Daniel Stange in over in London's Calling earlier this year, where
Uh,
he posed the thing basically showing that an AI that where you could enter in your username and password to authenticate you. And
yes.
then he put in thing in the prompt saying, don't give out the password. And so when someone asks, hey, what's the password? So I'm sorry, I can't give you that. Then when it said, what are you thinking about right now? It gave the password.
Yes.
And I think that's an example of kind of like just prompts in general. So I just have one more question, then we can move on to your zero trust the trust cycle framework. So back to like the zero trust, where a lot of people, a lot of companies are saying zero trust for zero trust, and these all these companies are trying to be secure, but then
Mhm.
Salesforce is this completely different animal, right? In the
Yes.
one of our very first sessions we did was all about how there's this big disconnect between the security team that are doing
Mhm.
the audits and security frameworks and the Salesforce teams. And I mean, I just got this 200 question questionnaire for our annual security review from one of our customers. And I'm just looking at it, and there's not a single question about how we're securing their integration user or what kind of permission sets we're using in there. It's more about, do you have role-based security? Do you have, are you encrypting at rest? Are you encrypting in transit? Are you doing this? None of the stuff really is really, for example, very, it makes sense for in the Salesforce world. So really, it's more of like a check the box exercise rather than actually securing the applications that their vendors are bringing into their Salesforce environment.
Yeah, so everyone is thinking like, okay, it's very common pattern I see across the implementations. Um, okay, you are bringing some vendor, you are working on some challenge, and at the meantime, addressing at the to only meet that requirement, you are adding some permissions, and over the period, it's accumulating, and the scope is going beyond where you can't control. Uh, so there should be a proper review process, so which I want to share in the next slides.
Yep. Yep. We can move on. And sorry for a little bit of a sidebar there, but
No, no, no. Those are really great discussion points. Um, so, so to make this zero trust really secure inside Salesforce, so we need a practical model, like not a high level philosophy, and that's where the trust cycle comes into the picture. So here, the trust cycle is broken into four different things: identity, data, context, and continuous verification. So let's start with the identity. So the first one is identity is a strong boundary. In Salesforce, identity for every user, human or AI, runs with defined identity. So that identity determines what it can see and what it can do. Then only we can see like, okay, whether the access is intentional and not accidental. It doesn't inherit over the time and not collect all the old permissions that nobody remembers. So identity is where the zero trust starts, because if identity is wrong, every downstream layer is compromised. So, and then the data. So the data layer is where zero trust becomes visible. Salesforce gives us an incredible, powerful set of tools to control who sees what. For example, org-wide defaults, sharing roles, and field visibility. So when your data boundaries are clear and structured, AI naturally becomes safer because it can only see what it means to be. And so data boundaries are not about like restricting people. They are about designing guardrails of so the system behaves predictably. So I just want to have a quick pause here. Any questions on these two layers of the trust cycle?
Makes sense to me. I don't know if anyone else has questions, but feel free to ask if you want to go hot on mic or if you want to just put in the Q&A, feel free.
Yep. Okay.
I guess not.
Yeah. Let's move to the next one. Context, right? So context is something is dynamic layer of zero trust. So not every session is equal. So if you see someone is doing actions once and those actions can be tracked. It's not the same action every time, right? Even if this identity is correct, action should be appropriate. So we have to make sure that the user after authentication, the actions performed by the user are proper. For this, Salesforce gives us the evaluate the signals. It locates device, the location of the user, sudden spikes in the data, and adjust trust in real time. It's the difference between the treating all authentication sessions as safe and treating them as conditionally safe. And then the continuous verification. In the continuous verification where zero trust becomes real, it happens like there is a monitoring, uh, logging, anomaly detection, posture evaluation, and periodic access reviews. So these all needs to be continuously monitored. So zero trust is not something you configure today and leave it. It has to be continuously enforced. When all these four layers, identity, data, context, and configuration work together, trust becomes a loop, not a checkbox. That's the essence of zero trust in the Salesforce. So, so we will see like how we know about the cycle, how we can do this. But let's see how we can operationalize in the next slide. Okay. When we are talking about this, let redesign access, right? So now the good news is that Salesforce has already given us strong native capabilities. You don't need something big to start. So start with the native capabilities. So you always make your inside zero trust very secure. It comes with the identity discipline. So clear modular permissions. Don't always use a profile like a uh, shell. Don't use all the CRUD permissions at the profile level. Make it move to the permission sets or permission set groups. Even though Salesforce is not retiring them, but the best practice is come out of the profiles, move all the things to permission sets and groups. Keep it on the high level, or maybe for the page layouts, those things. And lock down the integrations. Have the strong data boundaries. Make these even when you are using the connected apps, have them admin approved, not like just users approving like themselves. Make sure the data is restricted and short token lives. Enforce the private or wide defaults and field level settings, shield encryption for the sensitive fields. Those things are really important. So operationalizing zero trust isn't about making your environment complicated. It's about making your environment more predictable and uh, no unintentional behaviors. Even you can use the tools like event monitoring or transaction security policy and combined with the enterprise tools like SIEM so that you can block, identify, and correlate the different anomalies and block the user immediately and dynamically. So
Yep.
most of these capabilities are native to start with. So sorry, Matt. So any questions?
Well, I'm also going to have a question as well, or just a little bit of a discussion of what your thoughts on some things. So I see a lot of times people are, implementing security controls again just because it's a check the box exercise, or
Mhm.
morning of that this is how we've always done it, so this is how we're going to do it. It's basically creating security controls, but not really thinking about what it is they're trying to protect or how they're trying to protect it, or is it even an effective control at all? And I'd say one thing that I have a little bit of a soapbox lately I've been getting on is I'm traveling internationally, and I go to these sites like my bank. I go to even weird, vendors that are you wouldn't expect it, and I try to access the site, and it just gives me an error because
Uh,
it's blocked it because I'm out of the country.
mm,
Well, I personally don't think that's an effective control at all because what did I do? I went out and bought a $20 VPN, and now I'm online and I'm in
yeah,
another country. So it's not, I think that's less of, it's more of just restricting users, but not really creating an actually secure environment doing that. And that's just one example. And I'm sure there's a lot of others in the Salesforce world doing similar things. I think it's more about, like you said, it's like finding that middle ground between secure and usability, but also making sure that what you are securing is an effective way of doing it, not doing it just because that's what people have always done.
yeah, agree. It has to understand the patterns, right? So even the security center gives you to see the dashboard of different things, but when you correlate these event monitoring, you can understand the patterns and see any anomalies. So that way, block the user based on conditionally, not just okay, you are implementing the rules, don't blindly. So it will add friction to business and users. So
Yep.
I agree with that.
Yeah, or another example would be, okay, well, someone logs in, let's just say someone logs in from the US, and then all of a
Mhm.
sudden in the middle of their session, they start reporting an IP address from China. I
Mhm.
think, that's the kind of things that I think that do matter, and it's better than just saying, "Oh, I'm just going to block everyone unless their IPs from the US." Well, then some people are just going to, the attackers are just going to get a $20 VPN and start connecting or
Yeah.
set up their own. And I think and it's too easy to do that these days. And I think finding that, really is another way to do it. And Paul, I think you were raising your hand. You wanted to
Yeah.
chime
Yeah, so the I found out today I was redoing my basic doing my CERT maintenance. There's a new field level security gotcha that I hadn't seen before.
Mhm.
There's a permission set element for object permissions that is a checkbox for view all fields. And if you grant this to a permission set, it grants access to every field on that object, including any field that is created after that permission set is created. So if I have a highly secure new piece of data in a new field,
Mhm.
and I say only administrators can see this data, if I don't check the permission sets or go back and review the security for that object, I don't know that somebody else is being granted that access to that automatically because of that existing and overriding permission.
in. Yeah, I just
So
saw that one as well, brand new. And I actually, on top of that, and then we'll let Srini kind of respond. I was recently, and we'll be talking about in a minute, that Salesforce is having a challenge where if you can find all the security gaps in their org, you can win some prizes. And I was helping to configure that. So we were putting on view all data and modify all data. So we checked the box, I was checking the boxes, view all data, and modify all data. And I don't know if this was always the case or not, or I just didn't notice it myself, was that when you click those boxes, view all data or modify all data, it actually checks all the objects in your entire org with view all data and modify all data, all the fields. It's not just this blanket permission that you're giving the admin, it's actually now setting the permissions on all the objects. But now what happens if you uncheck that box or you uncheck it, it doesn't uncheck everything across the board. Also, if you uncheck, let's say, go to one object and uncheck view all data or modify all data, for
Mhm.
example, on one object, the box gets unchecked on the admin profile. But then the user still has just about every object still with view all data and modify all data. So pretty much you still have it. So those are some
Oh,
other
wow.
interesting, things that I didn't realize until recently. And I was like, because I remember a long time ago, it used to be just you check the box and you didn't have to have the permissions on the objects. So that must have changed at some point where I just didn't notice it myself. So I don't know.
Yeah, those are really the scary one, right? So we don't think those features where which will open the access in the broader level and increases the scope, right? Mm,
Yeah, and then even take backing them out, or what that happens, or what's the downstream, like Paul was saying, repercussions of checking this one box and then things that get created later. Does that mean that you're going to now get access to things that you don't intend people to? So I think it's
mm,
just thinking about everything you're doing intentionally in Salesforce and understanding what are those repercussions now and then a year in the future by checking that box.
agree.
Yep. So anyway. And I don't know if you want
Any
to
questions on
next.
this slide before we go to the next? Ready?
Anyone else?
Okay.
All right, so we'll pop to the next slide.
Okay.
Oh,
So
I'm sorry. I do have one question on that last slide.
Mhm.
What I've seen the checkbox for enforced transaction security before. What is that? What does that do?
enforce security transactions.
Enforce, yeah, what is it? Enforced session security, I think was okay, it's not transaction. I'm thinking of something else. There's a
Yeah,
session security checkbox.
yeah.
Sorry, wrong, right question, wrong topic.
No, no problem.
Sure.
Okay. Um, so let's talk about securing the AI by design. Because Salesforce AI is powerful, but it needs the right boundaries. The simplest way you think is that treat AI like an untrusted user with a very basic specific job. That mindset alone dramatically changes how you design AI workflows. Give AI its own identity. Limit its access to only the specific thing what it has to do, and minimize the data you send to the prompts. Always make sure that human approvals are there for high impact actions. And every AI action needs to be observable and needs to be verified and approved. So here, if you see, like there are different actions which Salesforce permits. Suppose, for example, one of the example I shared is summarizing the data. All right. Similarly, classifying the data. There are different actions. When you are doing sending these actions and providing the inputs to the prompts and sending the information to the flows to execute, make sure the minimum data is shared and have the proper filters and the actions which it has to be done. Like if it has to update the data, make sure you have some insights and overview before it updates to the whole records. So that control at the actions level is important until you are confident to completely move like more agentic.
Mhm.
Mm.
One thing I would also mention too is just is thinking maybe even differently how you would a normal user, a human user, because a human user they may have a lot of different roles and a lot of different things that they can do, and then you give them very broad access for what they can do. But thinking of like agents in a more compostable type of way of thinking of okay, creating agents for specific tasks, and I think it does two things. One, you're helping to minimize the blast radius of a single agent and what they could do, what damage could be done if someone were to take advantage or you didn't design them right, or you just didn't think about that prompt correctly, or you missed something. but at least the security is now limited to just the scope of what they need to do. And then the second part of it is thinking also about like I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought there. Oh yeah, I remember now. Is just the prompts itself. If you create this mega agent with this massive prompt, there's going to be a lot more room for error versus if you create these small agents that are designed for specific tasks with a smaller prompt, then you're going to be a lot easier to control what that agent is going to do and also be able to understand and test that agent that there are not leaking data, right?
I agree, Matt. I saw those because when you have like a big prompts, you have to give the lot of instructions, and within that instructions, there are high chances you will be losing and the steps which are required to control the access. So definitely the small and modular way of building the agents is a best practice. That way they internally communicate with in the topics and provide solve the purpose securely.
Yep. Yep. And also now thinking about with MCP and A to A coming
Uh-huh.
out so that you can create, just for everyone else, just create agents that can talk to an agent that can call another agent and talk to another agent. So that
Yeah.
way you can kind of create thinking of like when you're developing, you typically have like a driver class that then can call out to all the other methods. So it's kind of the same thing. You could have like the main agent who then can call out to the other agents. So they're having those smaller tasks. And I think the MCP and the A to A really are going to help enable that even more.
Yeah. So by following these rules, you can make AI default by safe. It's like it's not like you are about controlling the identity, data, and boundaries around it. So the whole purpose is making the Salesforce environment secure enough to run this AI. That so and the organizations that adopt this mindset early will be the ones who scale AI with confidence, not without any hesitation. So with that, I'd like to move to the next slide for key takeaways. So first, zero trust on Salesforce means not only controlling outside, it's more about controlling from inside. Make sure it's an architectural approach built on identity, clarity, and the strong data boundaries, contextual enforcement, and continuous verification. So following that continuous trust cycle, I definitely believe it will be AI safe. And as I mentioned, AI doesn't create a new risk. It amplifies whatever access you have already have and whatever risk you already have. So make sure your environment is well governed, then AI operates safely. If it's permissive, AI exposes those gaps quickly. And most importantly, you don't need a brand new things. So by following the Salesforce native tools like permission set groups, object OWDs, and event monitoring, these tools, you can build and control the Salesforce data more securely and build it zero trust. So that's how the zero trust begins and leads and make sure your org is secure.
Yep.
With that, I conclude and ready to take questions. And
For sure, for sure. And before we do questions, we'll do a couple more slides here. So one other thing that remember, of course, is only you can prevent and contain data breaches in Salesforce according to Cody and Astro. So that's and then next thing I wanted to kind of just mention is Salesforce Ben. We partner up with them to for their Hack Salesforce Security Month Hack Challenge. If you've seen, they're doing a lot of security themed content this right now. So you can go to the Salesforce Ben website. You can see a bunch of stuff. And also, if you want to try out the challenge, there's an org that has been misconfigured, and you want to, if you can find all the misconfigurations, I believe there's a 200 one, there's two $250 gift card prizes to win if you can find the misconfiguration. So there's a QR code, scan it. Tristan also put it in the comments if you're interested in looking into that. There's also a couple office hours coming up over the holiday break. So, and we've got one with Adam for how do you build trust in your Salesforce architecture? Sounds like a good one. And also Blanca, which we love, she's going to be talking about what security certifications do you need as a Salesforce professional in 2026. All right, great. So let's go ahead and jump into any questions. I'll go ahead and put that Salesforce Ben QR code back up if anyone wants to grab that really quick. And the floor is now open. If anyone just wants to speak, type in QA, go for it. We can talk about the questions. If not, then we will can wrap up. Michael,
Sure,
go ahead.
sure. Thank you. First of all, great presentation. It was really, got to the point and really great summary of all the issues. One question I had is, does Shield event monitoring monitor like an autonomous agent just as it would any other user and its actions?
So Shield, yeah, it comes with additional license, but you have to. It's not like an autonomous agent. I think you have to uh, internal Salesforce machine learning will identify those things, and you can set up like alerts, block the user, those things.
But let's say if like an autonomous agent does X, will that show up in Shield event monitoring just like as if a human user did it?
Yeah, so it is as part of event monitoring since it comes under the API flows and all those things. All the APIs and login systems are tracked. It will track those things.
Yeah, I think I mean, as long as it's
Okay.
something that Shield tracks today, because in the end, an agent is still a Salesforce user. So there's
Salesforce
still a
user.
Salesforce user behind that agent and a profile. So if you then, if they do an API call, they run Apex, insert records, and any of that stuff is still going to be tracked by Shield. Also, something else is coming up that I saw at Dreamforce with Pete Thurston talked about was they're actually coming out for with Security Center a security agent that's supposed to be able to surface risks and incidents in your org as well,
Mhm.
looking at anomalies and things like that. I don't know much about it, but I remember seeing that at Dreamforce. That might be something else in addition to Shield that could keep an eye out for.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. I just wanted to make sure that it sort of treats an autonomous agent as it treat any other user in Salesforce.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep,
Okay.
exactly. So I don't hope I don't pronounce your name wrong, but Ronak, you have a question? Feel free to talk.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello. Yeah, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Okay, I just saw your hand up, so I thought you had a question there. So we have a
Okay.
couple other in the chat here. So like first off, I'll just Rachel, I think you put a comment there. If you find connected applications, wait, so what do you say? If you find connected applications where all users may self-authorize, what should the admin do to secure this better? I don't understand your question entirely, Rachel. You want to just talk?
Hi, Matt. Yeah, I think in a previous meeting you had said to do a query to see if there was a permission for those users to self-authorize, and if
Hmm.
there are, that you should change that to an admin permission. If you switch from all users may self-authorize to admin approved users or pre-authorized. Um, yeah, I think just what are the steps to actually make that switch without disrupting access, which I'm sure they're going to lose access, but I just want to understand the steps to make that switch.
So I don't,
Yeah. So so regarding that, how the recent connected apps thing to implement the fix. So because previously it is not like admin authenticated, so everyone is doing the even users can approve themselves. So how to implement that? How to do that switch? Is that the
Mhm.
question? Without disrupting?
Yeah, I mean, it might disrupt them, right? Because you're going to disconnect them, but I think
Yeah.
just understanding the steps to move it from self-authorization to add the admin locking it down better.
So definitely the suggestion is to lock them so that you implement through the admin. So we don't, the whole purpose is to, we want to block that. So users may, actual users may feel some disruption, but we have to do that.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I really realistically thinking it's like, I think it is, what's worse, getting a data breach or having a few upset users. But I think I understand what your question still is. I would say, first go through all of your connected apps first and see if there's any that look suspicious and just block them outright. And if they're, real ones, then maybe you might start hearing some users complaining. If they're ones that you trust, then I think then it's more of going through it in a sandbox, testing out enabling those controls and get things set up, see how that works. But I think if err on the side of caution, if you feel like that there's something that feels like you don't know what it is, you're just not sure, I'd block it first and then find out later because worse is that it is something malicious and they're slowly siphoning off all your data, right?
And would you the same recommendation for if you find like, what if there's like old users that still have connected app
Yep.
usage? Just block them out.
Yeah, and that would be the same thing. I was going to say with the same thing because you've got the next thing would be you've got other users that are using these apps. So because any new users, of course, would not have access to the apps unless they have that permission. But your existing users have access to the app. I think that again, this goes to, I mean, what using your best judgment, I would say for the thing, if you trust the app, but then he said, figure out like, well, which users are using it. If it's something like, for example, we use Service Insight, and I know that they're supposed to be using it, and they're sales users, so I think that's fine, of course. But again, if you don't know, then I would say block them out if on erring on the side of caution, right?
Thanks, Matt. So you would block them and then change the setting, and then they would have to regain
Yeah,
access.
especially if it's like you're not sure, right? Yeah, I think
Okay.
that would be the safe way would be to have everyone reauthorize because you know that they're permissively going in now and you're using the right controls. Again, it's I think it's a company decision of whether you want to do that or not. So you could say, like I said, if you know all the users that are accessing it, they're supposed to access it, it looks right, then I think it's fine to leave them as long as you know for sure. But if there's one user in there that you're not sure of, then of course that could cause problems.
Thanks, everyone.
Yep. Yep. So we have another one that says, what security measures would you recommend for an organization that already has profiles and permission sets?
It, so yeah, so I can take this. So
Hmm.
when someone is already having, it's very difficult to bring everyone on the same page and do that changes. But at least start incrementally so you can achieve that goal. I would suggest going something when you are building new, don't allow anyone to add on the same old profiles new permissions. Make sure your team follows the permission set group approach and incrementally identify the personas, business personas, and usage based on that. Move those permission set and slowly switch those to the permission set those users needs to be switched to this new permission set groups and a shell profile.
Yep.
It takes
I think profiles
time.
are very dangerous in general because there's just so many permissions and you really don't know what someone has half the time. So I think you should start auditing those profiles and seeing what permissions they have, document that, and then like Srini said, slowly create a migration plan to start migrating people, over to permission sets and permission set groups. All right, great. So we have another very interesting one. I love this one. Says, I would love to make our contacts and accounts private as OWD, but too many child records and master detail are controlled by parent. So those who only need to see the child record get access to the parent. Any suggestions? It's a hard one.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have any advice for them, Srini, on that one.
Uh, I'm not here, but yeah, I think we can clarify that later offline, or can reach out.
Yeah, I mean, so basically, I mean, first off, I would say uh, it's you definitely want to, if just generally speaking, make your and your accounts and contacts private, and that's first what happened in some of these data breaches that happened was people a lot of times say I trust my users, but then they don't make them private, and then the attacker then gets full access to your entire contact and account database. So it's great that you're thinking about that at least to make them private. I think it's a little bit more of a nuanced question there of like, okay, well, what are these objects that are hanging off of your account and contact and you having with the master detail? I think it's a little bit more of a complex question. So whoever that it says anonymous attendees, we don't know who asked that, but if you want, you can DM me or connect with Srini, DM him, and then maybe we can get a little bit better answer for you. Yes, roles should also be considered. That's a good one,
Yeah.
Rachel.
Yes.
All right, great. Okay, great. So anyone have any other questions before we wrap things up? Looks like we're almost at time, about 4 more minutes, unless anyone else has any other questions. And
Matt,
no, go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah, quick question. Because I know we had some people earlier. They just wanted to know any comments that you had. I think Erwin had brought it up too, specifically around the data breach today. And secondly, what are your comments on, do you see this kind of being another major wave? I know time will tell, but any thoughts?
I mean, I don't know, Srini, if you've read much into it. I think it just recently hit, and someone actually DM'd me earlier today about that as well. But I mean, I think, like I said, I feel like it sounds there's not too much information yet on it. I think it's still
Uh-huh.
developing, but it feels like to me like another sales loft drift kind of thing where the tokens got exposed. But I
Mhm.
don't know, but there's not too much information versus what I'm seeing on the trust site and Reddit currently on that. But it could be another wave, and it could be a really big breach, or it could be just something that, is there just maybe if it's an isolated incident, but we don't know yet.
Yeah, I'm also catching up on that. I'm not completely sure about what is that. Is it different from the recent breaches or something new wave we are seeing? I need to find out.
Yeah, Salesforce Trust they had just given some high level details about it, that there was some suspicious activity and that they were cautiously, they were let me say, it says Salesforce identified unusual activity involving Gainsight published applications connected to Salesforce, which are installed and
Mhm.
managed directly by customers. And says their investigation indicates they may have been enabled unauthorized access to certain customer Salesforce data through the app's connection. That makes me feel that maybe it is that some of their tokens were exposed
Mhm.
potentially. That if that based on that the description, of course, I'm only speculating. It says upon detecting the activity, Salesforce revoked all active access and refresh tokens associated with the Gainsight published applications connected to Salesforce and temporarily removed those applications from the app exchange while their investigation continues. So, I mean, to me, it feels like, again, based on the fact that they're all OAuth connections and they're disabling the OAuth connections, that sounds like the Gainsight app itself is legitimate, but it sounds like some people got illegitimate access to the tokens themselves, either through Gainsight itself or through other mechanisms that potentially allowed people access to customer Salesforce environments where they should not have had access. So anyway, I think that's all we have time for today, unless anyone has any final questions before we wrap up.
Thanks, Matt, for the opportunity, and Tristan for coordinating.
Yep, and thank you, Srini, and thank you everyone else for joining. And if you know, next couple, I believe the next office hours is going to be on December 4th, and then we'll take a little break, and then be back on January 8th. Thank you again, everyone, and see you on the next office hours.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks. Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Thank you, everyone.